Hey, here we go. Welcome to X Garage. Thank you for joining us today. Another fine, beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest, United States, Washington. Thank you.
Yeah. In Scotland, the beautiful eastern shore of Scotland. Northeastern shore.
Have you been to the beach yet, Heath?
Yes, I've been all over that beach.
All of us.
I have ran all up and down by about 5 miles along the coast there, but I guess it goes on for obviously it goes around the whole of Scotland.
Whoa!
Crazy.
Are you insinuating that the ocean surrounds that island?
It's hypothetical. I've never seen it. I mean, the Earth might be flat. It might be round. It might be square.
Okay. All right. As long as we're square, as long as we understand each other.
Do you like how I went there with that? The Earth thing?
I do.
Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, it's beautiful here. Other than the fact that the wind here is not wonderful. So
yeah, fair enough.
I think when it comes to winter weather, the Northwest is much more
mild. Right on.
Suitable place.
Hey guys, so just so you know, I just started a MeWe page today for X Garage.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, I don't even know what MeWe is.
MeWe is what's gonna obviously take over Facebook.
It's the new MySpace.
It's the new MySpace.
Yes. That's
customizable pages and all that.
Yeah, that's what I saw. When I saw customizable, I was like, this is MySpace on just return. It's on a return here. Just like fashion.
The same developers come back.
It comes back around.
Yep.
It does, man.
Someone said it.
So we started a MeWe. Be uploading some of our videos there and hopefully get some special content just for MeWe. So go follow us there. Join MeWe. Follow us on other platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everything. So, guys, what are we talking about today? What in the world is Theosophy?
Theosophy. Yeah. Well, let's just. So what's our agenda today with Theosophy?
I don't know, Jake. You go ahead.
I was just.
Let's just work this out. Let's work this out while we're recording.
In my limited knowledge, what I'd like to do is just kind of lay the groundwork because I think that this group is interesting.
It's fun.
And I would kind of like to continue this conversation, and they were much more complicated than I thought they were going to be.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
At least. So the system itself, I mean, it's the reason it's complicated is not because of the ideas are difficult to ascertain necessarily, but because of the inconsistent nature of the beast. One is the complex story of the founder. What was her name? Helena Blavatsky.
Yeah.
Look it up there, Ethan.
Blavatsky.
Blavatsky.
Looking it up.
So apparently, I didn't know she was as big of a deal as she was. I thought this was just gonna be some random tiny group somewhere, and this lady went everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is back like at the mid 1800s. And she has the weirdest story. It's really difficult to tell fact from fiction. Sorry, go ahead.
So okay. So Jake, the snake here, I think you're talking about the complexity of this is really revolving around the character of its founder.
Yes,
and also her history and trajectory. Because let me say, I really think what's common of these groups that are Gnostic in their views of knowledge, which we'll talk about in a moment, I'm sure, is they're just always inconsistent. That's just part of what it means to have some hidden knowledge, because it's not going to, anything that's hidden away that's not revealed to all in God's creation is going to fall out. There's nothing that transcends in a way that's going to be such to a secret extent to which it is absolutely hidden from reality. It's almost, or there's some other reality. Is in itself. I think it opens the doors for just whimsical thought or inconsistent thought,
and it does that to itself intentionally. So they have certain guiding principles, it seems.
Three, I think it is. Three.
Yeah.
We'll go over that.
Right.
So let's real fast. So for our viewers, Theosophy means it comes from Theos, the Greek word for God, and Sophia, the Greek word for wisdom, and it's often translated divine wisdom or the wisdom of the divine. And that goes back to what we're just talking about with this idea that they have some other wisdom that has been specially imparted from the noise or this mind of the spirit that permeates all things. And
very Eastern thought.
Yes, she is tapped into that. So go ahead, Jake. I just really had to. I know you were mentioning getting at a definition earlier, and I totally took us off track.
No, that's okay. No, I think again the complexity I think is coming from not necessarily what she reported as the system, but my interest is kind of how this actually has permeated much of society. I heard
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I heard a YouTuber. That's a great way to get your information. Jokingly, he said that if you see a soccer mom teaching Reiki, it's probably because of her.
Teaching Reiki?
Yeah. Or yoga.
That's
or something like that.
Yeah,
just like
that's wonderful.
The permeation of Eastern thought into Western society is thought to a large crowd. They attribute that to her.
No, and that was definitely one of my impressions. Is that Theosophy is the Eastern, the Western's, the West's practice of Eastern religion.
So as we've talked about, like Aleister Crowley and his influence in bringing the occult into the United States, her impact, even though we wouldn't know her as readily, her impact is more global and probably more influential than Crowley. That's where it gets complicated, because she literally traveled nonstop.
Yes, and I think that you see that in like you're getting at is in their views, and where they are a hodgepodge of various philosophical schools meshed together in this Blavatsky's system, if you want to call it that, and inconsistent system, and so I was kind of like, if I were to summarize it, and this might be some areas we can always hit on, is it's got a piece of Eastern philosophical ideas with the karma and much of some of this practices of reincarnation and all these things, these ideas of
yoga
ideas, and then it's got Gnostic ideas of a special knowledge. It's got a Neoplatonist idea of a dualism where God's transcendent and impersonal, and yet he permeates all things, and his creations, the creation's an emanation. And then I just want to mention witchcraft also, with this wielding of energy, which is a part of our immaterial substance. And then the Enlightenment methods of comparative religions as her hermeneutic for finding out the essential spirit over the oversoul of the universe. So she's literally it really is, like you said, Jake, or maybe it was Ethan, I can't remember, one of you guys in the chat, that it's a religion of the 19th, 20th century. Where it's just taking this method of taking stuff from whatever religion it wants, and in one's own mind trying to make a system of it.
Where have we heard that before?
Hi.
Oh yes. Good tie there.
Yeah.
That's very good.
So what it seemed like to me is that she was, in her mind, she was trying to aim toward a proto-religion.
Mhm.
So being able to kind of tie all the, and there's a huge assumption there that you can get to truth from, people do this with languages, right? You take these large concepts in modern languages, you find maybe pronunciations in one generation older, and then you can find like surrounding countries that have taken on aspects of that main language, and say, well, in this poem, we can tell it probably used to rhyme here and here, but it doesn't anymore. But if you assume the pronunciation of this foreign country's adoption of that word, you can figure out, okay, well, this probably sounded like this. Again, it's all hypothetical. Even with linguistics, like I mean, obviously there's a lot of conjecture and guessing that's going on. It's like, this could be probably this. And I think that practice started about the same time. You're assuming that truth can't be something that you that God Himself would be able to give it in a revelation, right? And that's all over in their thinking. Like it is through and through. It's a religion of the self, and that's
and for them though, I think they would say that no, they're actually tapping into God's revelation.
Right, but it's
divine knowledge. Again, the name of their school of thought is wisdom of the divine, or divine wisdom.
But you don't necessarily find that through any sort of single idea. You find that through inner.
Well, I think that's it. That their method is, again, comparative religions is their way to get back to a proto.
Yeah.
That they see semblance as proto.
Right.
As the first. So anything that's similar across all religions and traditions, and getting back to the earliest accounts of those similarities for them would be the source.
That would be the true religion, is that the commonalities. It's not the differences. The differences is what we need to throw away. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you go back to what Ethan mentioned earlier, is it's very Eastern in the idea that it's not even where it came out first or where you can trace it back to. It's that this semblance of things is beyond the physical, temporal, spital things themselves. So I think they're really very Eastern in the idea of transcending all objects of the world.
Interesting that she hated Christianity, right?
I know, right? Huh? What?
What?
I think it would be interesting to take a moment and discuss their emblem. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you pull it up
going into their three main points? I think that would be a good thing.
Actually,
did you guys have a chance to look at their emblem?
Yeah,
I did. I actually put it up on a mural in my room.
Oh, really? You kind of painted it up there?
I wish. No, actually, I don't wish that. But or maybe, yeah. Anyway.
So I guess we could try to explain this thing. So it's a very circular symbol. Right at the top, I guess we could stop top to bottom.
Hold on one minute.
Maybe maybe you could bring it up.
I'm getting a good picture.
Screen share.
I'm gonna screen share here. I'm just not getting a good picture yet on Google. All right, got it on Pinterest. This is perfect.
Pinterest.
Wonderful,
okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah. You're on Pinterest
too. It must be on a Soccer Mom's page.
Yeah, Soccer Mom's page. Yep. All right, here we go.
All right. Okay.
There is no religion higher than truth.
Yeah. So this one doesn't have the Sanskrit lettering on the top, but that's all right.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
I'm not sure what that means, but
look at that.
There.
Yeah.
And then what do we got there? Oh, go ahead, Ethan. You walk us through this.
Oh, okay. So right at the top, we got the Sanskrit lettering. Sorry, I did not take the time to actually. I probably should have figure out what that is, what it means. But as we're going down, we have first the emblem, which a lot of people would say instantly, "Oh, that's a swastika." No, it's not. It's actually opposite of the swastika. But that is a Buddhist symbol, sort of like the yin yang, kind of similar idea of this continuous cycle. And then if we go around the edge there, we have the snake eating its own tail, which is actually there's a lot of the symbolism all over the world, and I think that's why they use it. Is this idea of the snake eating its own tail is this idea of Eastern thought, and it's also tied up in thought, Celtic, ancient paganism thought as well, of this sort of cyclical motion of time, of sort of the snake eating its own tail. And then we go down to a symbol which a lot of people would recognize as the Star of David, but this is also actually a Eastern Eastern symbol, which is basically the triangle within the triangle, and it's actually very much built up in the occult and things like that. So I've always been wary of the symbol of the Star of David, even though the Jewish people have accepted it as sort of this symbol for their country. And then in the center there, you guys see the
Egyptian cross, right?
The Egyptian cross, which is I think it's Amun Ra, the sign of Amun Ra. So we have, and then it says down there at the bottom, there is no religion higher than truth. So this is sort of like the pre-coexist symbol. So if you guys are familiar with the coexist symbol. So there we go. So now, yeah. So
wow.
Comments, lacerations, contusions on that?
That's wonderful. Yeah. It definitely gives a good emblem for what they're about. So I think that's fascinating. Everyone's got to have their artwork, right? No.
Yeah. No, they're very artistic and
okay. Got the Theosophical emblem Wikipedia up. So the emblem is crowned with the Hindu Sanskrit word Om or Om.
Oh, that makes sense.
Sanskrit. In Hinduism, Om represents the unity of Atman and Brahman, is being identified with the entire universe and with its modifications, including temporal, that is past, present, and future. Did you guys get the sense that they seem like they're panentheistic, correct?
Yeah. Like a Buddhist is pantheistic, yes, I would say, because really a lot of their thought is Buddhist. Like at the core, like I saw so many similarities between Buddhist thought and their thought.
Yeah. So this
go ahead.
So some of the notes that I found said that they, and maybe you disagree with this, Heath, but they wrote that the ultimate reality for them is single. So in which everything is absolute, impersonal, unknowable, and indescribable. So that would be a non-dualistic system, monistic panentheism.
I would wonder how they were able to describe that.
Yeah.
I don't know that the person that wrote this
that's just the natural contradiction of such relativism that these religions come up with.
I don't know that the person that made this was
I think from what, and again, periphery studies for myself, but I think I would say this goes back to what you mentioned, Jake, earlier about the inconsistencies in our thought. Was I even find with various definitions on different sites like Britannica and with others, they all actually try to define this group using different terms. Like for one, I think it was Britannica, didn't even mention their Eastern influence as a major part of them. And I'm thinking, how do you not do that? So I think one of those things is they have this monism about them, but then they're with that Neo-Platonist view of everything is drawn from this one source, this permeating eternal. We would just say it'd have to be God, the triune God, but they're obviously not doing that. They're just trying to create some other deity that's like you're saying is unknown, transcendent, beyond everything, yet it creates everything. And on some level, what's interesting is it kind of falls out when they talk about the material world as not as important or somehow less divine, if you will. And so that's where I see some inconsistencies with even that monistic thought. If it's not truly one. If it is, then it's got a graded level of oneness, of lesser and greater oneness. So I wasn't able to get that into their metaphysics, but definitely I agree that it's into the oneness of things. The mind or the absolute behind everything is unknowable, or at least we know that.
So one thing I found, it seems like they have this kind of, maybe I read this wrong. There's a like, even though it's impersonal, there is a cosmic mind, and everything seems to be kind of like embedded in this. I'll just say this. I get this sense that there seems to be this really interesting connection between what she's saying as maybe like the proto-Scientology.
There is a lot of Scientology vibes from this lady.
Yes, I agree with the both of you on that. I was thinking the same. That's like, this is like, she was before Ron, right?
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. She was, I think she like died
40, 50 years before Ron, or?
Yeah, I feel like she would be Ron's grandmother or his mother.
Yeah.
Like he really, his story and his way of putting together Scientology, Dianetics, is with the Eastern aspects, the Enlightenment parts, everything. It's like, in even the witchcraft affiliations.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, Hubbard was more into psychology and getting into the schools that way, where this lady was more into just
Philosophy.
creating a philosophical society, which fit her time. Actually, that was really a big thing with these influence. Major philosophers were coming out of that time or came prior to her, and I think that was probably a lot of who doesn't want to be the next great philosopher?
No.
I don't know if any of us do, but that just sounds like trouble.
Yeah, no.
I think Jesus, we'll just leave it to him. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Interesting thing to note about their system. So to her, there are 7 kingdoms of reality. There's the physical, the mineral kingdom. There's the astral, vegetable kingdom. Then there's the mental. That's where most humans live. Human and animal kingdom. And I don't know how to say these next two. Okay. There's the Buddhic and the Atmic.
Okay.
And that's kind of where like I think the transcendent ones, like the people that have, like her masters would have been in that sort of category.
Yeah.
And that is one thing to note about her, is that she did have, I think, a few people that she would call her masters. One in particular, she had dreams and visions of, who I think initially she thought was Jesus. And then she saw him in a parade. I think he was an Indian man. I might be mixing up 2 of her masters, but I think he was an Indian man. And then she ended up kind of connecting with him and learning that she needed to pursue this path of Eastern thought and bringing it to the West. And she got that from this gentleman that she dreamed about.
Yeah, that's that hidden special knowledge there.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be where we'll have to go next. Maybe let's just do a trajectory of her just following her history a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you're saying, a lot of the ideas are just sprung out from her travels and her associations and her own inner experience.
Yep. And then I got 3 Theosophical Society objects. Now, these seem interesting to me. I'll tell you why after the first one. So number 1 is to form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color.
There's the postmodernism. Yeah.
Right. But she herself apparently, emphasis on apparently, was anti-Semitic and pro-Aryan race.
Oh, okay. So she was Naziistic.
That's
right.
interesting.
And I think they ended up using some of her documents and thinkings to justify some of where they were at. Again, take that with a grain of salt this time around. That was just my first rereading of stuff. So
yeah, we don't want to fall into the category of our modern era where if you want to insult someone about their beliefs, you call them a Nazi. So
right.
yeah,
right,
like the ultimate. Yeah.
Number 2 is to encourage comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science. Then number 3 is to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humanity.
Latent powers.
You know, what's fascinating, I thought I came across those as well. I didn't get to look at them in any detail, but that last one, I thought, it is a interesting point that all of just humanity in general, we know there is that which transcends. And so I think these ideas where they have groups that are actually taking note of this, it really does buy into the human conscience that creating the image of God, we desire to know God. And so people are looking for these ultimate answers, which we know are before us every day. There's much, even the laws of nature, or we call laws of nature, God's upholding the universe and logic, etc., demand his existence. And so people start, I think it's those really general laws that they have that you just read off that pull people in. But then when you get into the system itself, it comes with so much more than just that. Like reading that just sounds like something you would find at a university front page. We're here to analyze religions and to come up with the universal, it just sounds like it, but there's so much more to this group than that.
Yeah.
Or like you said, this equality of humanity, of course, yes, again, very simple, creating the image of God. But for her, you look into her life, did she actually think that and believe that herself?
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to read or listen to some of her books. I tried to start one of them. I think it was the Secret Doctrine book. The book is gargantuan. It's kind of one of those things where it's like if you try to study some of these religions and you're like, well, the people who study these things, no wonder they're obsessed with knowledge. It just takes so much time and concentration to be able to go through this gargantuan body of work to try to understand the religion. And but it is interesting. I mean, what I heard is like she seems to think these things, but at the same time there was this sort of like ethereal sense to what she believes, where she's like that Gnostic thought, where it's like we can't fully verbalize the truth, but we're getting pretty close to be able to verbalize it, but we're not quite there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. What I'm hoping to get into next time, because I'm particularly wanting to continue this topic. I noticed that this society has had a large influence on the painting community, the visual arts community. She herself said that, and in line with kind of the mystic tradition, she tends to see things as pictures, and so she would say that it's difficult to really fully express what I'm seeing. through written format. But I noticed that, and this might not be the same for all the artists. I'm not just throwing out a blanket statement, but an interesting trend I saw in some of them was that through their entrance into the Theosophical Society and through their life, their lifespan of work, their works became more and more disassociated with the world around them and became more ambiguous and abstract. And I think that comes from the kind of Gnostic introspection that this kind of thinking creates. Rather than creating art that is objective and poignant and has definite meaning, it starts to obscure meaning and obscure our relationship with reality. So I'm interested to go a little bit more in that direction.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really good direction. And like you mentioned, we were talking about that the other night, and how I think that fits the biblical narrative as well, is that when we're not seeking God as he's revealed himself in creation and in his word, we are essentially, when we're saying there's some secret knowledge, we're denying his works, and thus go into a disarray and disorder in our approach to all of life. And it comes out in works that are very disordered. Not only just and that's when we talk about sin as missing the mark. It's really being off from the manner in which God has created you to be. And so I think we're going to note as Jake gets, I think that's a good direction for us to go. And I think it ties right back into the nature of sin and what happens as we veer away from the will of the Lord is just disorder and chaos.
Yep. Cool. Why don't we call it quits for today? And we'll get back to the Theosophical Society in some coming episodes. Again, if you guys have any questions about what we do here, obviously leave them in the comments. If you have suggestions about further topics, we always love to hear people's opinions. I think this group was actually in the comments a while back. So it was always in the back of our mind, somehow subconsciously.
Secret knowledge.
Secret.
It's the Sophia, the Theosophia.
Yep. So yeah, we love suggestions. Again, follow us everywhere and our MeWe.
Follow us everywhere like a stalker.
X-Garage stalkers.
X-Garage stalkers. That's great.
Join our X-Garage stalker group. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on X-Garage.
X-Garage.